And welcome back to another episode of Let's Learn Zig. So it's been a little bit since I put the last one out, but I do want to keep the series going, out a video whenever I can, maybe when I want a little break from the game engine series. Do want to keep teaching people how to use Zig and the basics, so like I said, just going to keep trying, keep making more episodes, and today, pretty important one, control flow. So what do I mean by control flow? In this case, I just mean if, else, and switch statements. We're not going to go into loops yet. I'll do a whole episode around loops. But I think there's enough in Zig where we can kind of split it up, try and keep these episodes small and digestible for everyone. We'll walk through, I think, 4 different coding examples, going from basic if else to switches to also optionals. I guess I should throw that in. I'm also going to go over optionals because I think that just goes really well with if statements, because it can show how to quickly do like if optional, then you can grab the value from it and then use it within the branch. I think that's very powerful and everyone should know it. So if, else, switch, and optional is this episode. I think that's all pretty critical to control flow. Yeah, I don't have too much to go over before. I think I try and explain well in the code and just give lots of examples of what different things look like. And you'll see some functions, some enums. There'll be dedicated episodes to that in the future. We will get into more of those details. So if it doesn't make sense, just stick with it. Just type the code yourself. That's something I'm going to encourage you. Make sure you're typing the code. That's how you learn. It's okay to, obviously it's great to watch videos to learn, and you need to, especially when you're starting with a new language, but just make sure you're writing the code yourself. Just reading it, you're probably not going to learn nearly as much as writing. But yeah, let's get into the code. Okay, let's get right into an example. So let's just do a quick is true. And for now, we'll call it true. So again, this can validate anything. It'll be a Boolean. So if is true, you can do std debug print, and then true. Just do that. And otherwise, or else, we can do the debug print false. Right. So now let's just try and run that. So true, obviously. So again, this is just the basic if else statement in Zig, and now false. So just like any other language, we can also do an else if. Let's just hard code true, make this an else if. And now, so what will happen is true is false. So this will be false, and then I'll check this. So it should print false again, and it does. And that's kind of the else if. You can end with an else as well, but this one will obviously always be true in this case. But yeah, that's kind of the basic example. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this one will be pretty similar, but I'm trying to do a little better example, and then also kind of shows how you can directly assign a variable in Zig with like if statements, or yeah, that's kind of it with if statements. So you do equals if, so score greater than equal, let's say a 90, can be an A, else if score greater than equal to 80, then we do B, then another else if score greater than equal to 70, call that a C, and then we can have our else case, which is fail. So it kind of does all bunch up onto one line, but if we look at it again here, and then now we can just print it, do score and grade. Score and grade. Look at that, and this will just bunch into one line, but again, if you don't look at it, that's what it looks like if we run it. We have score A2 and a grade B. Just add a new line for printing, but now let's just adjust this variable. So let's do 90, we get an A, let's do a 76, we get a C, then let's say we get a 49, it's a fail. So that's kind of the simple of just assigning a variable directly from if statements. Okay, now let's go to the next example. Let's say you're writing a web server and you want to parse the status of the HTTP request. So say we returned a 404. Now we can get a message from that. So we can do switch on that status, and then we can say 200 is okay, 201 created 301, 302, redirect. And then I'm not going to obviously list every single one here, but there's some cool stuff you can do. Let's just do a few more. Bad request. Obviously the 404 that we will start with, not found. You can do actually a range as well, which I think is pretty cool. And server error. And because this doesn't cover obviously every single U16, we will have to have an else case, and we just say it's unknown. Do that. Nice. And then we can just print what we get. So the number we get is the status. So we say status and message. And now let's run that. See, we get not found. Let's just play around with it. 200, we expect okay. 302 is redirect, but let's say it's a 303 now. That one we don't have in our list, so that's going to fall into unknown. I think I just spelled that wrong. There we go. And now let's do the range. So let's go up here and say, well, maybe it's 500. So now we get the server error. But what if it's 588? See, it's still a server error. So it's cool how we can switch on a range of values individually, or you can get the entire range if it's something like a number. Okay, so next I'm going to show a quick example of optionals. So let's write a function, say get value, and let's just say it's going to return a U32, but it's going to be optional. And then let's just take a parameter. Again, we're not going over functions this time, but it will in the future. Obviously we will. And now we can just say if is true, we can return, let's just say 5. Otherwise, return null. So what this means is an optional is basically just, it's a number, or in this case, it's whatever type. So obviously here it's a U32, a number, or it's null. So it can be one of the two values. And now I'm going to go over here and we can directly show how to use it. So it's actually quite easy. So we can say if get value, in this case, let's say true. What we can do is now extract that value. So we see it's a U32. So because this if statement evaluates to true, which in this case, it's a number. So if we did not return null, we can have that value, std debug print value. So now we can use that. So it's kind of like a little closure there of we can directly grab value and then otherwise print found null. So this is a very basic example. Now if you run it, see, we get the value of 5, which is expected. So we got the value because we return true here and it goes to 5. And now if we make this false and then run it, we can see we found null. So that's a quick example of how optionals work. They're very powerful, and this just shows a really cool way to do it. One other trick, if you want, we can do const value equals get value true, and then you can directly unwrap it. So now what will happen is we'll unwrap it. So it kind of expects, you're almost asserting, being like, hey, unwrap this because we know it's true. But now what will happen, I'll show you, if you do false and try to unwrap it, it panics. So Zig will panic, saying attempt to use null value, which we don't want, obviously. So you only use this if you're essentially asserting me like, I know something exists here. Let me just get that value. Okay, and I'm going to do one last example, and this is going to show switch on an enum, but then also show that enum being nullable or optional, like that same option we just did. So we'll write a little bit of code here. So let's just say we have a color. And again, union, enums are things we'll go over more in the future. But for now, let's just define a few. So this will just be a color, simple RGB color. So we have that, and then we can do const maybe color, and it's an optional color. And again, I'm trying to just show lots of different syntax here to get everyone just aware, really. Nice. Okay, so we have that. So now we can do what we just learned. So if maybe color, and then we can fill that switch statement in. But then else we can just do std debug print no color. So now we did that. Now I can actually show how to switch on an enum. So color, then we do, let's see. So dot red, std debug print. Just say red is that. See the new line, and then v. So we're pulling that kind of closure in again. We're unwrapping it. Basically, like if we look at the color, so it can be one of these three, and then because we put the optional here, it could also be null. So in this case, it's gonna be a red color, but it could also be green, blue. Just get all that proper. So now let's play around with it. So if we run, you see red 255. You can change the number. Let's just say 1. Or it can be green. Green's 1, and of course blue, showing all the cases. Blue's 1, or it can be null. Because it's nullable, we put that question mark, we see no color. So this right here is how you switch over an enum. And then obviously this if statement is how you get the value of a optional, which again, optional just is marked by the question mark right there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you had some takeaways. I hope you learned some things. Again, I think optionals are probably the most advanced thing we've done so far in the series, which not to say they're crazy advanced, but you don't see them in every language. If you come from something like Python, JavaScript, probably aren't used to using optionals, but they're very powerful in the language. And you just have to use them carefully. Like as I showed that like dot question mark to unwrap can cause your program to panic. You have to be careful with how you're using that. But by having the if statements properly there for every optional, it's kind of like a safeguard. Because if you aren't sure there's a value, use an optional, but then always check that the value is there. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have for the episode. If you're enjoying the series, a thumbs up, subscribe, all those things are very, very helpful for me. And if you're on chat, there's a Discord link down in the description. Lots of people have been coming in chatting, and I really appreciate everyone that does. It's a lot of fun interacting, talking to people. Yeah, if you have any questions, go there or leave a comment. Besides that, have a great day.